Good morning, friends. So I'm at a bit of an impasse this week where I have mostly completed a lot of projects, but not fully completed any of them. I've kind of started and then stopped a bunch of little projects that are making everything feel half-baked. My intention this week is to get all of the walls in. I still have 1, 2, 3 panels left, and then a panel up front to tuck the headliner into. These behind me are already set into place, but they need their aluminum edging to protect the edges, obviously, when I'm using stuff like the inside of the cabinets. So let's get into work. Good morning, everyone. Yesterday was extremely productive. I was able to get nearly all of the lower bench areas. This has 2 rises in it, completely covered. I do need to finish trimming them out, both lower sides. And then later today, I'm also gonna go in with some clear silicone caulk around all of the edges. And the reason for that is in wood campers, in my experience with both the van and the bus, you want there to actually be a very small gap, not a massive gap, but a very small gap in between your pieces of wood, because if you don't, if the wood is touching, like if this were a corner, that wood, every time you drive, less so in this since I won't be back here, but every time you move around, that wood just rubs ever so slightly, but enough to hear it. All of the squeaking would drive me insane. So to try to mitigate that, I did leave literally not even a 1/16 inch of a gap in between all of my pieces of wood, just enough to give them some room, especially when it's super hot or super cold. That wood is going to slightly expand and contract, and I want to give it some breathing space. But that said, I don't want to give it so much that there can be leaks and issues if I spill something under a cabinet or Tara's water bowl flips over. I need the camper to still be sealed well enough that I'm not going to start growing getting mold and having other issues. My goal for today is to finish that area like I was just talking about, to try to get this other wall covered, because right now it is still looking pretty pink. And instead, I would love for it to look something like this wall behind me. Can't believe it was the first time it's ever happened, but my camera died yesterday in the middle of putting up that wall, which, as you can kind of see, is in. After I put that up, it was time to move on to flooring decisions, and I have a sample. I have two samples of what I might do. This one is still that vinyl luxury, I think it's vinyl luxury tile, luxury vinyl tile. Something that's weighing really heavily on me with this decision as well is the amount of material that I can actually use. And I feel like it's not something that a lot of people really talk about, not for any reason. It's just usually left out of the conversation. But a lot of waste can be created when you are doing something like this. Drops of wood, things that aren't working quite right anymore that end up getting thrown out, and then stuff like flooring. When you can't use a whole box or you can't use a whole sheet of flooring, oftentimes stores won't even keep that to give to somebody else. They'll just throw it away or tell you to bring it home and throw it away, which is so wasteful. And especially because I have such a weird floor cutout, it would be really hard for me to cut up the remaining scrap in a way that could be given to and used by someone else. And I say this as somebody who has already built 2 other rigs and has had that happen twice. I've posted material for free, no one has wanted it, it sat out, it didn't hold up very well, the store wouldn't take it back, and it just is really wasteful, which I want to minimize as much as possible. That said, I don't want to make a decision purely based on that because obviously I want to like my floor, and since it's going underneath everything, it's really, I mean, it's going to be possible to take it out later, but it'll be really hard to change this later without taking out some cabinets or having like weird scraps left around the cabinet edges. Okay, so this definitely feels super ridiculous, but I cannot decide. I've had them in the house, in daylight, in the camper, in artificial light, and I still don't love either of them. And I think part of the reason is that I'm comparing it to the unfinished birch wall, and this color is so blonde that it's really throwing off the tones. Right now, I mean, this has warm undertones, but compared to everything that's in there, it's super cool. And so the super warm vinyl sheet flooring doesn't look quite right, and the plank flooring looks so gray compared to everything in there that I feel like I just can't get a good read. So I'm gonna go ahead and divide this into sections, this piece of unfinished birch. This is what I'll be using for the cabinet faces that run along the floor. So everything that touches the floor and is going to most closely be compared visually to the floor. I'm gonna separate it into a couple of sections. I have a bunch of leftover stain from past builds, and then my parents actually have quite a few as well from home renovations that they've done. And I'm gonna swipe them on and see how they look compared to the 2 floors, because then at least I'll have a sense for what the cabinets are actually going to look like and be able to make a better decision as to which I wanna go with.
Another beautiful day, I finally figured the recipe. A bit of giving and taking, life it is what you make it. Nothing petty can get to me. A little bit of slow, a little bit of go, a little bit of high, a little bit of low.
All right, maybe this is a bad idea, but I think it'd be fun to see how long it takes me to finish this floor. So I'm gonna set a goal for 1 hour, and let's see if I can do it. Set 3, 2, 1, go. Well, that could have gone a lot better than it did. Not only did I not finish in an hour, but it has now been 2.5 hours, and I don't have any of my floor in. Unfortunately, the Click Lock Easy DIY flooring that I got, it's actually the same brand and type, just a different color, as what I did in the bus, would not stick together at all. None of the pieces would click together. I would put them in and they would just fall right out, which meant putting multiple pieces together was nearly impossible to get the joints right, which is very important for a watertight seal. Now, I don't know if it was just the lot number that I got, they all came off of the same pallet that was made improperly, or the grooves for the click lock weren't deep enough. But I can't get any of the pieces to stick together, which is no bueno for my floor. It's getting late and it's already Friday, so unfortunately I'm not gonna have a finished floor for this week's video, but hopefully by next Sunday you guys will get to see the finished results. I'm confident that it is just a box issue or the model issue, and that this isn't going to be a problem that goes far into the future. We should be able to get a floor in here soon. I have big plans for those walls, and the camper is gonna start coming together fairly quickly after that, I hope. My design, electrical, and propane is already planned out, so it's just a matter of getting these walls and kitchen cabinets and benches in there so that way I can start putting my plans into action, get them off paper and into the camper. On that note, I'll see you guys next Sunday. Bye.